The more you look into and understand yourself, the less judgmental you become towards others. Arabic is the language of the Quran, but Arab culture is not the culture of Islam. Behind every great man is not a woman, she is beside him, she is with him, not behind him. The universality of Islam is not uniformity, it is unity with diversity. The more I know, the best I believe. The more I know, the best I'm worshipping Him. Because, in the end, Allah knows the best. To be courageous is to be a voice for the voiceless. A true teacher doesn't teach you to think like him, but to think without him. To be kind is good. To be kind without expecting anything in return is better. Don't treat people the way they treat you. Treat them better. Our task is to change the world for the better, not to adapt ourselves to the world. If you read the Quran with your head, you find repetition. If you read it with your heart, you find depth. Proud to be a Muslim isn't a stamp you have on your heart, it's a light you have in your heart. Saying that Islam is in heart, is similar to giving back the exam's paper completely white and saying, knowledge is in brain. Stand up for your values, be courageous and humble. You can't be good to others if you're not strict with yourself. The more shallow you are with yourself, the harsher you are with others. The more profound you are with yourself, the more generous you are with others. Ramadan is, in its essence, a month of humanist spirituality. Never forget your dialogue with God, it is your strength. Intellectual modesty is humility as to what I know, intellectual humility is modesty as to what I do not know. Intellect is a part of a good faith. Intellect is the light, the heart is the direction. If you are not at peace with yourself, then you cannot spread peace. If you know how to live, even death is good news. Your heart is the center of humility, your mind could be the source of arrogance. The process of reclaiming the self is one of reconciliation with meaning. Islam has no problem with women, but Muslims do clearly appear to have serious problems with them. Malaysia is a country unlike any other, full of promise and fragility. Its history, cultural and religious diversity make it a rich, compelling and surprising land. Man is certainly free, but he is responsible for this freedom before God as before men. This responsibility is inevitably moral. In order of this morality, to be free is to protect the freedom of others and their dignities. Tell me what you are doing with your suffering, and I will tell you who you are. You can't say I don't do politics, because silence is a political statement. Cherish your tears and their reasons, they will be the light of your smile, your inner peace and reconciliation. We want to tell people how great Islam is, yet we are not great Muslims. In Ramadan, you should eat less and think more. The philosophy of fasting calls upon us to know ourselves, to master ourselves, and to discipline ourselves the better to free ourselves. To fast is to identify our dependencies, and free ourselves from them. Clarity and consistency are not enough, the quest for truth requires humility and effort. If you do not have boundaries, you do not have a path. We are in a world that is connected, but is not communicating. You're a man, but the day you raise your voice to your mother, you're not anymore. When you're overwhelmed by your emotion, you listen less and you judge more. This is also the reality of the dogmatic mind. The Islamic world is obsessed with the notion of strong leaders. This is a mistake. We don't need powerful leaders, but rather unconventional, progressive thinkers with the courage to open our minds. Teach the heart not to give way to proud emotions and arrogant thinking. Bring the mind to heart-soothing solutions that make it possible to control oneself gently and wisely. Islam came to teach us that there is no faith without intelligence, and here we are, destroying our intelligence in the name of faith. I believe my religion is the truth, but I am not the truth and the truth doesn't belong to me. I'm trying to belong to the truth. Islam doesn't need reform, we need to reform the Muslim mind. Advertising, music, atmospheres, subliminal messages and films can have an impact on our emotional life, and we cannot control it because we are not even conscious of it. We need modesty not only in the way we dress, we need intellectual modesty. The dogmatic and, therefore, invulnerable core in Islam is understandably simple: acknowledgement of faith, prayer, charity, and fasting. Almost everything else is open to interpretation and modification in space and time. Your sensitivity is power. Don't let people transform your qualities into weaknesses. I have learned that one should say peace to those who shout their hatred for one's being and presence or at one's passage. Humility is knowing that you can get an answer from anybody, be it a child, another person, or nature.